Death metal hails from Finland. This time the album in question comes from United States of America, and the style is, well, death metal, the old-fashioned, the traditional way. This one is called Ripped to Shreds, which is here without jewel case, just came like that. This one is actually named with a Chinese word or letter and nicknamed as Luan in parentheses. Very violent cover. One could even imagine by the name that this would be some, I don't know, historic, ancient China story, but as you can see, these guys are rather modern. However, this is about Chinese history, as it seems to be the case with the band, more or less, even though American origin. All the releases are more or less named with this Chinese alphabet or words, letters. I don't even know what the proper way to describe it is, but you get the idea of this album called Luan. And this is how it looks on the CD. So to me it all looks like this is American-made death metal about Chinese history and all that stuff. Now, if this isn't enough to ring a bell to give you kind of a Nile feeling, but this time from ancient Egypt to all the way to China, I don't know what is. Anyway, let's take a look at the band's Metal Archive site while I tell you a little bit about the music. As you can see, this is all the way from California, San Jose. Beautiful area. What I know, I don't really know San Jose, but California in general, I've been. Great place, nice people. And you could even imagine that this kind of music, which is very much like Swedish death metal, is coming from California. But then again, music is global, and when you just kind of fall in love with a certain type of music, hey, what the heck, you don't really need to be originated from a certain place to sound like the music from there. Now, as you can see, a couple of full lengths out and something else also, but this is the latest one, which is just right here. 35 minutes of old school death metal, released already 17th of April by Pulverized Records. Now, the thing here is, this is basically one-man operated band with then some addition to the lineup. And to me it sounds very much like kind of a worship of Swedish death metal, because the sound here is very much what you might just call in general Boss HM2 pedal sound. That is kind of a traditional old school death metal sound which you hear so often. And it doesn't even matter if it's not exactly the same pedal and the same kind of settings. You still have this certain feeling that takes you back all the way to early 90s and or shift between 80s and 90s, and that kind of brings you memories of bands such as Entomb, Dismember, Grave and all that stuff. So very, very Swedish thing. Now, like I said, this could be a band that is very similar in style to Nile, and by similar I don't mean necessarily kind of technical stuff, but more like going to the ways what Nile is doing, that is this kind of a very Egyptian feeling despite being all American band. But as it is the case, Ripped to Shreds is all about just being kind of a Swedish style, even though the themes are here war, death, wuxia, and by wuxia it means usually the Chinese martial arts, Chinese art of war, that is also related to Kung Fu and those Hong Kong movies, Kung Fu movies, and general war history of China. So this is very, very different from the style of Nile, where everything is about this Egyptian worship, if you think about it, and even from the samples and all that stuff. So while that is kind of unique, Ripped to Shreds is not unique at all when it comes to the actual music. Now the theme is nice to have, but unfortunately Luan seems to be very much just, you know, taking the music from Sweden and just taking the topics from China and putting it all together the American way. Now there's nothing bad with that, but to be honest, this doesn't really strike very original or original at all. Now that wouldn't be so much an issue if the song material was just as killer as bands with Entombed and Dismembered and so forth. But to me it all seems like this is kind of a recycled. And it's not a bad thing if you're a huge fan of this style. And why I say huge fan is that for others, I mean just normal death metal head, this might not be very convincing. That is, this is not, you know, making me go wow, or saying this is mind-blowing, this is breaking news kind of a thing. This is just kind of a basic death metal 1990s way and nothing beyond that. So in a mean ways of words, I would say this is kind of a B version of what is Alpha Class with the aforementioned bands. Nothing wrong with Luan as such, but then again, there's nothing captivating, nothing really memorable apart from the HM2 sound here. So kind of a nice, kind of easy to get into, but really easy also to forget it all and just move back to the classics. With this information, obviously, I want you to do this, open related links, click open the Bandcamp page, and start listening for yourself. Maybe this will appeal to you more than me, who knows, but at least you should give it a chance if Swedish death metal is your cup of tea. Anyway, take care, be well, bye bye.